Hey guys, this is Jake from Jake's Board Reviews. As you know, I do like to give first impressions, and the mosquitoes are still around, and it seems the colder it gets here, the mosquitoes stay. Anyway, this is the LSD Noa Pro Model, the old one in a swallowtail, so I believe it was made a few years back. I'm going to give my first impressions here. I rode this a handful of times. Unfortunately, the first few times I rode this, I didn't really have good waves. Like, honestly, it was shocking. I had maybe I think it was like a 1 to 2 foot beachy, and yeah, the rest of the time I had one day, actually the second time I rode it, it was about head high surf, just at one of the beaches here, like one of the regional classics, and it felt all right. I had the Ron fin set, oddly enough, so I was riding Breakers boards. If you don't know them, check them out. I'll put a link to their Instagram in the bio. They sell boards out of Ballina. They're good young fellas, so yeah, I decided I'll test one of their fins, just to see what they're doing. Very similar to like an AM template, and if the fin works well, I tested it in the Chili Shorty. Also, I had another Chili Shorty that came up, but yeah, they just didn't seem to go as good in that. But they're probably the second best fin, and then I realized, okay, well, I need less rake in this board in a fin set. So that's what I did. I switched to the Coffin fins. Even though they're fiberglass fin, they do have a little bit of rake. The Coffin fins worked quite decently in this board, I thought, because I had that second session with the head high waves and got some nice turns, but the board just felt sluggish and slow, and I was like, it's at least 3 to 4 foot, or 3 to 3.5 foot, so, and a bit junky and stuff, so normally a board should work well in that, but it just didn't seem to work well in those conditions, not because of the board, but because of the fin itself. So the next session I surfed a wave in the main beach called the Shipwreck, and it was about, 2 to 3 foot, and tide, I can't remember if the tide was going up, I think it was, but it was just coming off low to mid to, I surfed for a few hours. There was a period where the surf was really bad here a couple months ago, and everyone was raving with those cyclones and everything, but it kind of just stuffed up the banks for quite a long period of time. So yeah, I was riding this that one day, and yeah, it was about 2 to 3 foot, and I was just really finding it worked well. This board worked well with the Coffin fins, and I could get up and over really well and doing some really good turns. Probably some of the best surfing I've done. In saying that, this one's a 5.9, 18 7/8 by 2 5/16, so it's 26.3 liters. I would have liked it at 5.8, 18 3/4. Same thickness, 2 5/16, but 25.8 liters. I felt it was a tad on the bigger side. So if you weigh around what I weigh, then you use me as a reference and send me messages or comments below. Quite a decent board. Nothing too crazy. My first impressions is it works if you're surfing the right waves from 2 to 5 foot. It's not exactly an everyday board, in my opinion. It's kind of something, because of a swallow maybe, it hinders it from being that everyday board. When I think of everyday surf, I think of something, okay, it's 1.5 to 4 foot, and I'm just going to chuck it in my car and it's going to work. That's kind of how I see an everyday board, especially over time. I don't see an everyday board as something where if it's 2.5, it has to be 2.5 foot for you to grab it and actually get momentum and speed with it. So yeah, the one thing that it did feel a bit stiff, this board. So the review's coming shortly, so stick around and you shall find out more. I didn't get footage for this, but subscribe down below if you haven't already, and if you want to see any more boards reviewed, let me know in the comments. Cheers. Adios. Muchachos.